Good evening. Before I begin, I would love if you could close your eyes for a moment and listen to what I'm about to say. And as you listen, it would be nice if you could try to visualize what I'm saying. Here goes. 50 years before, at daybreak, on a fine summer's morning, when the Riddle house had still been well kept and impressive, a maid had entered the drawing room to find all 3 riddles dead. The maid had run, screaming, down into the village and roused as many people as she could, lying there with their eyes wide open, cold as ice, still in their dinner things, she shouted. The police were summoned, and the whole of Little Hangleton had seethed with shocked curiosity. Nobody wasted their breath pretending to feel very sad about the riddles, for they had been most unpopular. Elderly Mr. and Mrs. Riddle had been rich, snobbish and rude, and their eldest son, Tom, was worse. All the villagers cared about was the identity of the murderer, for plainly, 3 apparently healthy people did not all drop dead of natural causes on the same night. Thank you. Now, imagine, if I had given you these lines from Harry Potter's Goblet of Fire and asked you to read it instead of giving you a dramatic visualization, would you have felt the same connection with the author? Probably not. We all used to do this at one point of time in our lives, when we were kids, in the form of bedtime stories. When our parents used to give us that dramatic visualization, we used to feel more connected with it. As a show of hands, how many of you would have heard it from your parents, or how many of you still read it out to your kids? Show of hands. That's pretty much most of us, isn't it? Well, I believe that bedtime stories are our first connection with an author's imagination and his world. But then we move on, and we keep it aside for the kids. Well, I did the same too, until quite recently, when I came across this person called as Simon Vance. Now, Simon Vance is an audiobook reader. Now, he's a great audiobook reader at that. But audiobooks have already been there around, and I wasn't much interested in it before, until I listened to a 5-minute review of the book, A Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. And in 5 minutes, he got me hooked, and I wanted to listen more of this person. So I went back and looked at the book that I always wanted to read, but I couldn't get past the first 20 pages, David Copperfield. So I saw if there was an audiobook for that, and I listened to it. It was a 33-hour audiobook. But every time I listened to him, every time I switched it on in the morning when I'm driving to work or coming back, he always made me want for more. There was something in his voice that pulled me in. And that's when I realized that audiobooks is a whole beautiful world out there that is waiting for us to explore. When I was listening to audiobooks, I realized that it was a better replacement, in a way, for music when I'm doing something routine and mundane that did not require me to think or process. I liked to listen to audiobooks because it helped me understand the accent and how you must use and pronounce certain words. Well, Simon Vance was a British reader, so I liked to imitate that accent. Audiobooks also, most importantly, helped me connect with the reader, and I feel that it gave me an added dimension about what the author might have intended to do, because there was beautiful rhythm in the way that he pronounced. Of course, David Copperfield is one of Charles Dickens' finest, and Simon gave each of the characters in the book a tone, an accent, and a voice, and he maintained it throughout the book. That was brilliant. So I went out and I tried exploring other authors. There were other readers, sorry. There were many other good people, but there were also some who were crap. That's when I realized that a great story requires a great storyteller. And I would love it if you could also experience that. I would love it if you go back home, find that one book that has been lying at the corner of your shelf, collecting dust for so long. Find if there's an audiobook reader for that. Find if there's an audiobook for that. And if Simon's reading it, perfect. For these reasons, for improving your language, for having a better understanding or better connection with what the author had intended, and also having a better time when you're not doing much, I would suggest that you find an audiobook and get connected with it. There's a whole world out there waiting for you to explore. Thank you.